All right, welcome to another video from the chart readers. Feels good to make these videos again. A little hectic 72 hours on the personal side, but everything is okay. So again, feels real good to make these. Today I'm going to make a few videos. This first one will be energy and oil. So what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? Daily and the weekly charts. We have our 5 moving average lines, these horizontal support and resistance lines that I manually draw. And then when we're done up here, we will use the MACD and the RSI as our lower indicators. Again, 80% of the work is done up here. This is the last 20, just kind of cherry on top of it, right? So I actually don't know the last time I made this video, but look, a couple things to easily call out, right? You can see a moving cluster, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the 5 lines, and all it's doing is just going in and out of this cluster, right? Eventually, like they always do, after they go horizontal for enough time, they either go up or it looks like, in this case, goes down, right? So clearly this was probably the biggest day right here, I would say the 31st. From there, this was actually the day, I mean, all of these days even, look at that, it's been trading under the 8 for a good while. But this was probably the best shot to get out of the cluster, and then it just did horrible, which is good if you like oil stocks, right? Because again, SCO is our short on oil. So if this does bad, that should mean oil stocks will do well, right? I also like this, right? Again, if you like oil, you want this to do bad. I like that the green is under red. I like that the green is under red on both. And on both, it really looks like the green wants to keep going lower, right? I'm going to zoom back a bit. Okay, this is actually the lowest the RSI has been in quite a while. We really have to go back to here. And again, it's still, this is actually the lowest it's been in a good while. So that's interesting. If it could, look, it definitely could keep going down, right? And the way that this is looking, it has a lot to do before it gets over the 8, right? But if the weekly is going to look as bad as I'm assuming it is, yeah, that's a real bad weekly. Look at that. It's definitely been a number of weeks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 under the 8. It's tried to hold the 20, but really the last 2 weeks have been ugly. At this point, this line seems pretty realistic, 1833. Maybe this 2010 will save it, but even that's another 5% down, right, at least. So yeah, there should at least be some good for oil stocks going into next week. So let me just zoom out to see where that $18 is right there. Yeah, that makes sense, right? It's at the bottom of this. Again, I can still see this 20 doing well too, because there's a couple places it does hit. But yeah, this is looking good for these next couple stocks that we're about to look at. OXY, nice. Look at this. Again, a little choppier than ideal. A lot of red and green kind of sitting in there, right? It's not like it was like a green all the way up. But nonetheless, what's it been doing? It's been riding this 8 pretty well, right? Came down a little bit here, almost a little scare at the 21. But nonetheless, I mean, since middle of October, all it's been doing is riding the 8, right? A little bit of a scare, like I said, right there, but pretty nice. Again, the way that SCO looks and the fact that this is still only at 70, right? Again, around 80, how high did this one get? This one got to 85, right? But around 80 is when I start to say, hey, you might start to see a cool off, right? This might actually still have another little pop before it goes. And then I'm going to go to the weekly real quick, because I do know this, because I do like this stock. So 77, let me just go to the monthly because it's just the easier place to see it. Okay. Oh, it's not. Never mind. Okay, sorry about that. I think I might be thinking of another one. I'm going to go back to the weekly. Never mind. Nonetheless, look at this. This is a real nice weekly, right? So again, beginning of October, we break both the 8 and the 20. From there, it comes down a little bit, but still pretty healthy, stays over the 8, and then that's real pretty, right? 3 weeklies. Each time the candle keeps going up, right? It's not like it's like a little, this is a good up, right? So real nice. Are we over this day? What number is this? Yeah, if we can get over, what was the high of this? 76.10. Again, there's really no reason to believe we wouldn't hit this, what is it, 77.64. So about a 5% move in right there, but a pretty safe one in all honesty. I'm actually going to go to the monthly. And the only reason I'm going to go to the monthly is just to kind of see what happens after we break this. Because again, This is a pretty tight cluster as well, right? Is this the high? That's the all-time high. Okay. Yeah, look, again, if this goes up, I would say this, man, see, there's too many lines. That's one of the real problems here. I might clean this up on the next video, actually. I think we have a little bit too much line. It happens sometimes, right? Especially on a stock that I watch a lot, right? But we're sitting in a really good place. If we can get over this one, what number is this? 87. It really, after the 87 line, that's a lot of this choppiness. And there's not a lot of movement. It's till 114. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to clean this up a little bit. There's way too many lines here. It looks a little better on the daily, don't get me wrong, but there's such a weird gap. It just doesn't look that good. I've been rambling on a little too much on OXY about nothing but what we need to talk about. So I will move on, and I'll figure out what to do for OXY probably on the next video. INDO. Okay, look at this, people. Again, super, super, super tight cluster. 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. And I mean, I know it's a red candle, right? But it looks like it wants to go. I like the green over red. I like the green over red, and I like how bad SCO look. INDO, I feel like it's just been dying to break up out of this. I have been watching this in IMPP like a hawk, I'll be real honest. You just got to be a little patient with it, right? But again, super tight cluster. It will either make a really strong move up and basically make its way to this, hopefully, right? Otherwise, it's going to break down. And we've seen this a number of times. But again, I like that down there. You know I like the RSI more than the MACD a little bit. Still a really low number. It's gotten as high as 80-something not that far ago, right? I mean, I'm waiting for this bad boy. Really, if we can get over 725, I would set an alert for 725. If this bad boy breaks 725, there's really little stopping it from 8. And I mean, from there, I could also see the 9 go, because again, there's not a lot of price history to stop it, right? So 725 on INDO, we're all looking for that together, I promise you. I'm liking this weekly. We need one more week for confirmation, right? But we smashed both the 8 and the 20 on the weekly, and I love it, right? 701 is obviously this line. We just mentioned the 725 on the daily, but yeah, it does look like if it could get over 701 even in the morning, it should ride up pretty well to, I said 725 to just get over this and pretty much ride you all the way up to here, right? 770, which is a little more than 10% alone. So just watch this one. Maybe, okay, you can definitely set more than one alert, right? That's not a bad thing to do. I would set it at 702 and then 725, you know? So if you can break the top of this guy, you should fly to at least this, if not this $8 number, right? So INDO, let's watch that one together in the morning. CEI, no bueno. What happened here? I don't even know. I remember so I guess this was the last time I was making the video, because I was talking about this thing at least riding the 8, right? By no means is that a cluster. But, you know, when you only go down, you're going to make a couple things. You're either going to make an attempt up, you're just going to keep going down, or you're at least going to ride the single line. I was, you know, hoping for shareholders. Again, I keep saying I wouldn't buy this one, and, you know, I'm not trying to bash this one at all, but riding is good. Once it looked like it was not going to ride, it should have been clear to you that we're well under the 8, and hopefully you got out, right? I'm hoping a lot of this repetition is starting to sink in, and you're, you know, hopefully using these moving averages wherever you look, right? But nonetheless, look, again, just such a bad weekly, right? Get a good weekly chart so you know you'll have a good daily chart, right? That's another thing I always beat the drum on. But hey, CEI, if you've been watching these videos, you would have been paying attention while it was writing it. But I mean, look, even by this day, by what day was this? The 28th. This would have been your sign that game was over. And I mean, you would have saved a lot of money, actually, because 15 to 12 is a pretty big percent jump down, right? So again, CEI, I hope you're using these videos. Let's look at IMPP. Let's look at IMPP. Again, the same thing, right? Just such a tight cluster, such a tight cluster. Ah, man, I'm telling you, look at it. It wants to go up. I don't like this though. Actually, I'm just a little surprised to see. I see green going down, red on top, right? So it actually makes it look like Indo might be a little better than IMPP, right? Nonetheless, just if this can break up, especially if this can break the 44 or 49 cent, from there, it's a pretty smooth ride up. Because again, for me, these moving averages are a lot more than my lines. Trust me, you know, if you see my videos, I love my lines, right? But the fact that the next line up is all the way here, oh man, that would be real pretty to break. Nonetheless, I'll say it again. I think Indo looked a little better. I'm going to go back to Indo real quick. I like that RSI a little more, right? That alone did a lot. I like that we're actually over all the lines. I'm going to zoom in again, right? We're over all four. I realize it's red, don't get me wrong, but we're over all the lines. With IMPP, we're definitely under the green one, okay? It's not as tight a cluster. This one's only 3, that one's 4, but our side didn't look that good, right? And even MACD actually doesn't look that good. So Indo definitely seems a little better, but that's a nice weekly. We're at least over the 20 and the 8, and we've actually been over the 8 for 1, 2, for 5, and we've been over the 20 for 3. We were over on this one, over on this one, and over on this one. Let me go to the Indo weekly. I can't say exactly. Remember, this is actually the first time we've been over it. So that's a little bit interesting, right? IMPP is a little more established on the weekly. This one had its first weekly pop, right? So just some things to consider. But again, watch the open, set those alerts on Indo, and then really same on IMPP, right? I would set the alert for 44 cents. Again, I don't move money on this, so I would be looking at 4 decimals, right? And I would go all the way with it and make sure I got it. This view is only for this indicator, so make sure you look for it. But basically, I would set it to one of two things. Either the high of the day on the 21st, again, 4 decimals out, or you can do it at the open of the 24th, again, 4 decimals out. So either set it at 44 or go a little exact on these 2 days right here would be my 2 cents. So IMPP and Indo on my watch list for Monday. UEC, again, man, what really bothered me is I kept saying this should be really nice after this 420 break, and really it never did it, right? There was one inter-day trade, but again, that's not why we're watching these videos, right? I'm a big fan of swinging days and just getting sustained, right? But it never did it, and it's so sad. It broke this day, failed, broke this day, did what looked like a good thing, kind of got slapped down a little too hard, then just kind of rode this line until it lost the cluster, right? UEC just all over the place. It really goes to show what confirmation means. And again, this view, I personally use more indicators, right? So when I trade, I'm using what I call the 1. We're looking at chart readers. Chart readers is way better than a blank chart, but trust me, it's not as good as the 1, right? And just all that the 1 is more indicators and actually a different set of moving averages, but not that different. But nonetheless, sometimes you just need more indicators, right? So that said, again, we're now back into the cluster. At least got caught by the 10, but real ugly RSI, real ugly MACD. I would be worried for UEC, and really that's not looking good right there. Because again, it looked like we were up on this cluster. Now it looks like we're about to lose this cluster. Real ugly RSI too, again on the weekly. So UEC, a little more pessimistic, and again, just real sad it never did it. GEVO, I remember, wanted to make a move the last time I made the video. Yeah, again, you can kind of see it right here, right? It looked like it wanted to break the 20, but really all it ended up doing was kind of going back into this cluster of only 2, right? Again, this is starting to look like it wants to peak out, but I wish the RSI was just flipped, right? We have green going down. We like green over red on both. So I don't like this inconsistency with the 2, and really this just looks like a pretty horizontal trading, and I think we're just kind of waiting for the red line to eventually come into this too. But yeah, GEVO just never made that move that we wanted it to, right? Not a good weekly at all, and really ugly RSI as well. LIACF, again, I grouped these two because they both were doing pretty much the same thing, right? They both are doing this cluster move. Actually, this one's a little uglier, definitely below it. However, it seems to be turning around a little bit here with LIACF. Interesting to note there, right? We're at least over this green line for a number of days, and we're actually over the 20, the orange line, for a number of days, right? I wish the RSI and the MACD looked a little better, but hey, if we can break this cluster, oh man, we can actually see all 4 decimals here. Interesting. Maybe I just got to do something on the lines. Oh, I'll hopefully fix that for the next video. But again, if we can break 1.67333, again, that's what we like to see, right? A nice gap between moving averages. Yeah, this one just kind of look at. I'm surprised that LIACF is doing a lot better than GEVO, because I actually remember thinking I liked GEVO a little bit better the last time I made this video. But yeah, LIACF looking nice, actually. Let's look at the weekly real quick. And it's actually because it was a better weekly, right? This one actually got over the 20. I'm sorry, got over the 8. And then GEVO, again, just couldn't do it, right? So again, gotta look at all of that. Last but certainly not least, sorry, that's the weekly. Let's take a look at the daily. Man, TMC. So a couple things, right? We're definitely in the cluster, definitely out of it. And not only that, really, it was well under the 8 for a lot of it, right? And at this point, all we're doing is trading under the 8. If I'm not mistaken, that 85-cent line is all-time lows. Again, that's a real ugly RSI, and you can see how low it's gotten, right? So, I mean, and even this you can almost say is the average RSI. So even if it hit the average alone, it seems like we might lose all-time lows. I think I'll lower this just a little bit. I'll at least get it to the weekly. It's not going to move it much. Move to 2 cents. We'll take that. Why not? But yeah, just be careful here, right? Again, I am a fan of this one long term. Just short term, it just doesn't look like it's going to be doing anything soon. So again, feels good to make these videos. I'll be back to hopefully consistent next week. Just a little stuff on the personal side, but hey, appreciate you watching. Have a good one.